Hi everybody, I'm Jen Cooper. I'm here to talk to you about crafting a dream and bringing your ideas to fruition. First of all, I'd like to say I'm so inspired today and so happy to be around so many people trying to do good acts, one person and one act at a time. So thank you for all being here. And I'd like to say and start by saying that I'm not a public speaker, I'm a teacher. And I've been teaching for over 10 years in Title I high-need schools in Chicago and Denver, Colorado. And I not only was a teacher, but I loved teaching. I taught visual arts and career technical education, and I was excited to get up every morning and see the students geek out on lesson planning and do my job. I loved talking to the students about how they could solve their problems through the arts, and I loved teaching them my passion. The strange thing about today is that I'm not here to talk to you about art or teaching. I'm here to talk about my story of why I took a big risk and left both of those things to do something completely different. How many of you have had an idea that hasn't let you alone? An idea in the back of your head that stays there for months, weeks, and even years? How many? And how many of you haven't acted on that idea for one reason or another? This is the situation my husband and I found ourselves in 8 years ago when we decided we wanted to open up a volunteer school in Nicaragua. Craft for Community is a social enterprise that brings down groups of travelers to have authentic experiences in our community. We work with the travelers in order to create custom trips where they can create a trip based on their passion and then have sustainable impact on the community. We work with 2 different nonprofits that custom organize the trips with us, and then they stay at our lodge. Craft for Community was founded in 2016 when we broke ground on our 3,200 square foot lodge on the beach in a little tiny fishing village in El Transito, Nicaragua. There have been 3 things that I love to reflect upon no matter what I'm doing: sphere of influence, passion, and attainable. Sphere of influence: what can you control? What can you influence, and what is out of your control? Figuring out what is out of your control eliminates a lot of worrying. And figuring out what you can control and what you can influence really pushes forward your ideas. Secondly, passion. We wanted to open up a volunteer school, and we knew it needed to be in Nicaragua. And I'll get to why in a second. But that was a really broad idea. So thinking about combining my passions of visual arts and project-based learning with my husband's passions of language and culture created our mission and vision statement for our business. Thirdly, attainable. How can you do this? What is your timeline? Do you have the money? Do you have the resources? Do you have the community? These are things that came in really important to us in planning Craft for Community and making it really happen. So because I'm a teacher and because I love visuals, I created a Venn diagram for you to really put it all together, because that's what teachers do. Sphere of influence, overlapping with your passion, and the attainable concept aligns all of your goals in the center, and they're much more manageable to move forward. How did this all happen? Where did we start? Well, in the summer of 2007, I had just graduated from art school. I was living in Chicago, and I was teaching visual arts at an inner city high school. I was also a resident artist at a ceramic studio. And if you had asked me 5 years earlier what I wanted to be when I grew up, that would be it. I was ready to be in Chicago, get totally involved in the community, and live the next 30 years there. I was done. I was excited and I was happy until I met Jared. And I met Jared through mutual friends we had through growing up in the suburbs of Metro Detroit, not too far away from here. And the day I met him, he had just gotten back from working in southern Mexico with the Zapatistas. The Zapatistas are a Mexican revolutionary force working for agrarian and social reforms in southern Mexico. And he was there figuring out how they live their lives, understanding what they did, and just being a global citizen. And that global citizen piece blew my mind. I had never met anybody who wanted to step outside of their comfort zone before and do something by learning through another culture's lens. So that summer, Jared and I fell in love, we dated, and we experienced Chicago and all of the cultural things that had to offer us. But we went through one very long, gray, freezing Chicago winter that we know nothing about here in Michigan. And we decided we were going to take a risk and move to South Korea. So we moved to South Korea to teach English for 1 year. We were in Busan. And that allowed us to travel around Asia, Southeast Asia, and finally Central America on our exit. And on our trip from Central America, from Panama to Guatemala by bus, we fell in love with Nicaragua. We loved the people, the culture, everything about it. And when we left, we told each other that one day we would not only be back to travel there again, but to live in an authentic Nicaraguan community. So as one does when we travel, we spent all of our money. And we relocated to Denver. I got an amazing teaching job at an art magnet school teaching sculpture and career technical education. And I, again, loved every minute of it. I loved my community, I loved my students, I loved going to work every day. My husband got a job teaching kindergarten, first and second graders, English as a second language, to students from over 38 different countries who are new to the United States. So as much as we loved our jobs, we'd come home at the end of a long week, sit on our comfortable couch in our comfortable house, and discuss how we were getting back to Nicaragua. So after lots of planning and connecting online and researching and talking to different people and making connections, we decided there was no time like the present. So in 2015, we returned to Nicaragua, hooked up with a real estate agent, told him our plan of creating a volunteer school, and he showed us lots of properties. Too small, too big, too expensive. And so with nothing left really at that time, he dropped us off on this beach of a tiny little fishing village on the Pacific Ocean. That town is called El Tránsito in Nicaragua, and we were walking along the beach. We were looking at the waves, and we saw all of the fishermen who were coming back from being out all night fishing. And we looked at each other, and then we saw their wives coming to meet them at the shore. And we had this magical moment that this was our community. I can't tell you why, but we both felt it in our hearts. And at that moment, it started raining, and we ran under this palm shack, and we just took it all in for a couple more minutes. And then we decided if this was going to be our spot, then we needed to do some more research. So we connected with 2 different nonprofits that had been functioning in the community for the last 15 years, run by 2 different women, individuals, and they had been doing sustainable projects in the community. The El Tránsito Centro de Artes and NICA, the Nicaragua Initiative for Community Advancement. And I don't know about you, but when I tell somebody about a crazy new idea in a new place that I'm not from, they love to tell me why I can't do it, why it's going to fail, and if they've done it before, why I'm going to fail like they did. And that's the reaction I was expecting from these women, but I got the exact opposite. They were excited for our program, they needed volunteers, and they wanted us to participate in the programs they had already created in the community for a better impact. So, by creating partnerships with these 2 organizations, we put Craft for Community into action. As I wrap up here, this is the picture of Craft for Community now. It was supposed to have been done 6 months ago, but we're still working on it. And I'd like to leave you with the idea that I'm not an expert in any of this. I'm just somebody who took a risk and followed an idea. And since then, this picture was taken 2.5 weeks ago. Since then, we've gotten doors, windows, plumbing, and electric, so it looks quite different. And when I return, we hope to move in 2 weeks. So, thank you. So again, I'm not an expert in any of this. We're just doing it. And I'd like to leave you with the idea that as long as you're familiar with your sphere of influence and what you can control, have an articulate passion statement, and understand what makes your goal attainable, then all of those things will align and your goals would be much easier to attain. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to all of you about your individual dreams and goals. Thanks.
The Hero Roundtables are the global events that ask the question, what is a hero? You've just seen one hero talk. To To find more and join the conversation, visit our website or social media.